Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at flipped learning example. Now, one of the examples that I'm going to use is from geometry. This is one of those areas that naturally lends itself to a little bit more flexibility, but we so often do it chunk by chunk by chunk by chunk, lecture by lecture by lecture by lecture, even if we're doing it in a flipped classroom setting. What I want to do is use my Canvas, all of those basic principles, the library that I've already set up for geometry previously in a flipped classroom, and I want to move it to flipped learning. And with flipped learning, I'm going to go down and instead of doing area by area by area, volume by volume by volume, I'm going to take the entire group of areas and volumes and we're going to deal with them as one large topic. And so to do that, one of the things I did was I made an official game board. We already know the shapes that we're going to be talking about. And so by putting together kind of a game board look, the students know exactly where we start, where we're headed, and especially since geometry lends itself to a pattern and an organizational system. So they have kind of a broad pattern, they can check them off as they go. But what we really want to get into is I don't want to be the one providing them all the formulas. I don't want to be the one providing them all the information. So what we have is I set it up in sets of goals. The first goal was for students to go in. All they had to do is for every particular shape, they had to go find the official name, the official formula and for volume and area for any solid or two-dimensional figure. They could do it out of their head. They could also do it using Google. They could use it using anything you want. They want to go to textbook? Fine, use textbook, don't care. But they had to use some specific requirements. And so all they had to do was find each of the pieces. And so they go through and they eventually get to three-dimensional pieces. And all they had to do was gather information. Now, once they had the information gathered, the next thing is, instead of just saying, here is the formula, let's actually go through and let's do the formula in a different way. I want the student to come up with the formula. So for areas, this is a square. It's 1 unit by 1 unit. This is the basis of all area. That's why it's called square units. So from there, their job was to find for every single shape, explain why the formula is that they found previously, what it is, prove how it was built from a square to whatever it needs to be built to. Or alternatively, make up their own formula. If they can't figure out how to get from the given formula to what they think the formula could be, then they could explain how to make a new formula. That's fine with me because inevitably I can turn it into the eventual formula. So they start with a square, they go to a rectangle. From a rectangle, we move to triangles. From triangles, we move to parallelograms. It's that same map again. But now students are developing their own formulas. They have to give me justifications and reasons why those are what they are. Now, after goal 2, not shockingly, is goal 3. And in goal 3, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it with volumes. Why from a cube, a simple 1 unit by 1 unit by 1 unit cube, can you build all of the volume formulas? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Mr. Moore actually had to look up 1 or 2 of these and figure out how do you get from here to here. So I had to do a little more homework because it was outside what I normally taught. But that's okay because I'm growing too. You stretch the students stretch you. But it's the same principle. They build the system. Now, you say, well, how in the world are you taking all this time? Well, I'm not doing lecture day to day to day to day. They're building it. Now, let's go back a little bit to what we're going to do with this. That's all theoretical stuff. But eventually, they have submission links. They throw them into me, and I can grade them. It all goes through Google Forms. It's not a big deal. We do have some practice problems because some of those kids, we need to do those, but they can do those when they want. In class, they got this piece done, go on to the practice problems. That's fine. You'll notice there's only like 5 to 8 problems per. And so we have all the practice problems can be done anytime they wish to do them. In class, not in class, don't care. All right, so if we go back to the modules, where does this all end? It all lands in a larger project. And that project is the house project. And in the house project, what I do is I give them a house plan. And it's just a plan. It's a two-dimensional plan. It's drawn to a 1/4 inch to the foot scale. And they have requirements that they're going to need to do. So all of the things, this unfinished house, they have to finish with all the pieces of the finishes. They have to make choices. They have to find prices. They have to find the volumes, the areas, all these things basically to price it out just as if they were finishing their house or building their house. And I have different requirements in the rubrics, etc. But they have this house. Now, to help them, I also give them a foam board model that is 1 inch to the foot. And it includes information that is not otherwise included in the plan. So this house I have as a 1 inch to the foot model as well. The wonderful thing is they have to put together a presentation and sell me as if they're selling their services to me. This is what we could do for your house, or this is what we've done to our house, home improvement, home and garden style. So that's kind of what we ended up with. And there are some great projects, and I'll throw some links up to some of those great projects because the students blew my mind. So the difference is flexibility, when they do it, how they do it, what they're doing, creativity on how they do it, but we're still assessing. We're still getting all the pieces in, but we're taking the time and we're mixing it up. And it's learning, not just piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. That's the difference between a flipped classroom and flipped learning. So let's take a look at some of those examples.